Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 597 podcast. First of all, I just want to thank everybody who has been following us along. Thank you for subscribing and following. Today's topic is about self improvement. There's this whole movement right now on the internet. Everybody's trying to be better, and I definitely think there's some good ways and some bad ways you could go about it. So we're just gonna break down, I guess, the methods people use and just talk about it. To piggyback off of our last episodes, you said that one main reason why you wanted to do better is because of one of your ex-girlfriends, right? Was that the day that you decided, like, you know what, I'm just gonna change my life around, and I'm just gonna be better?
It was one of the moments that definitely sparked my need for changing. So when we broke up, it wasn't because when she died, I was already doing the training, but seeing as I should have been better, seeing what I was doing, seeing me for what I was at that time, I wasn't happy with who I was, and that happened again last year. So it's when you, for me, what sparks my self improvement journey is just not being happy with who I am. For example, being miserable, fat, weak, sad, anxious, and maybe reclusive, where you don't want to go outside. Stuff like that is what, when you realize that, you're like, I can't live like this. This is not who I'm supposed to be. What about you?
I think for me, I think when I got married, um, my first 2 3 years of marriage, I don't think I was like, I don't, I shouldn't say I don't think, I know for a fact that I wasn't a good husband.
Really?
Yeah, like I had it misconstrued, I was like, like I should come home, the food should be cooked, and like you should do the laundry, and I was playing like competitive volleyball at the time, so I would come home and I would just want to rest for my game. Like I don't want to do anything in the house, and I don't think I was, I wasn't, one, I wasn't a good husband. Two, I wasn't as, I guess, motivated. And also, I was thinking about all of my relationships that had failed because of the person who I was. And I'm not saying that, my exes didn't have their things, but there's so many things that I could have done to make our relationship better, and be a better person. And I was just like reflecting on how all of my relationship failed, and I didn't want my marriage as well to fail, right? So as a person and then as a husband, I wanted to be better because I was pretty selfish, in the beginning as well. And then second, when my dad passed away, we talked about this, that I wanted to be that person that could be reliable for my sisters and my nephews. Like I wanted to be that the pillar that my dad was, um, for those around me. And obviously, as a Christian, you also always want to do your best, right? Like, because in everything we do, you should do as if the Lord is watching.
Mm.
If that makes sense. So there's a bunch of different things, and I also didn't like the person who I was, if that makes sense, right? Like, yes, I've always been motivated in sports and stuff like that, but I didn't want to go to school. Like, I didn't want to improve myself. I hated going to school. It's also because it was hard. I'm this, dysgraphic. I have ADHD, so all of these things. But I didn't want to keep using things as excuses. Oh, because I have this, I can't do that, or this because this happened to me. So I can't really pinpoint, but I would say around the time that I got married, 2 years after that.
So, did your wife have a talk to you? Be like, Miguel, you gotta step up. You're not doing anything around the house.
Not that I wasn't doing anything. I was helping around, but not as much, if that makes sense. Well, we had it. I don't know if I haven't even talked to my wife if we could talk about this, but we did have a rough 2 years, 3 years, in our marriage, and she always told me that I want you to lead more. All right, she's like,
Like a Christian husband.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I need you to lead more, and it's hard because you always think like, leading means complete control, and I have all of it or none of it type of person. Like I either go all the way or I don't. So I had to find a balance where like, how can I lead but not be controlling? If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then for her being a Western American woman, it's also sometimes a little bit hard to submit to authority. But in order for her to submit, I had to like prove myself as a good leader. So we were kind of stuck in this circle where I wanted her to lead, but I wasn't a good leader, and then I was expecting her to submit to a bad leader, right? So I had to like look inwards and change a lot of things, change my views. For example, we meal prep. She cooks dinner. I come home, and she had like a crazy 2 weeks last week. Life was just overwhelming, so she was dreading to cook dinner. Not dreading, but she was like, man, like I'm tired, I still have to like do all of these things. So I asked her like, how can I make this task a little bit lighter for you? I asked her like, can I prep the meal for you so that everything's chopped? The onions are chopped, the vegetables are chopped, the thyme, the leaves, like everything is prepped. So I prepped everything and put them in containers and in the refrigerator. And when she came home, all she had to do was just cook the meal instead of prep it and cook it. So those are little things that I've noticed how I basically could help her out, right? Because she's also working, right? Like she works. We both work. So it would be very selfish of me to come home and demand dinner, because she has a 9 to 5 just like I do, right? Like, so now we just split it. Like I've noticed that, or I've came to realization that it's a team. We're a team. Maybe if I was like the sole breadwinner, and I was providing for the house 100%, and then I came home and there was no dinner, then we would have a conversation, right? But but like we both work, so I think it was also the Surinamese mentality, right? Like my dad,
because you would have grown up like that, right? Your dad expecting food.
my mom didn't work, right? So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so that's the difference. So I just had to like change my mind.
I heard the reason why he retired at 55 was because your mother refused to cook for him anymore.
I don't even know.
That's what my mom told me the other day.
Probably. But also, I don't think he could get any more benefits than he already had. So there was no reason for him to keep working. Like it's not like he would get, once you max out at like 35 years, you have all the maxed out benefits. I don't think he would have gotten anything significant.
So you're talking about having to look in because you're trying to become a leader in your marriage.
Yeah.
So would you call that an obstacle you had to face on your path to self-improvement?
Yeah, I would say so, because to be a leader means you come last. So, and this is one of the things. There's some movement right now. Do you know about the red pill and the blue pill?
I've heard of red pill, black pill.
Okay.
Blue pill? What? Blue pill is when you stay a normal human being in society. Okay, yeah.
Right. So, the one problem I have with the red pill movement is that it's a little bit selfish. Right. It's I'm the man. I'm the leader. Right. I eat first and all of these things because I have to be strong, which I understand. And I also hate the term like alpha male. Like I don't like that term, even though I consider myself kind of in that bracket, but I hate the idea.
Why?
Because an alpha, if you look at nature, right? Like if you look at a wolf pack, right? The alpha is obviously out up front. He leads the pack, but he also takes the first blows, the first hits. Like he's a protector, right? It's not, they don't eat first because they're the alpha. They eat first because they have to stay strong to keep leading the pack. Yeah. It's not because you're the alpha. It's because you have a duty. You have a responsibility. That's why you get to eat first. And that's why, but it's not just, and some people they twist that, it's not because of the noble cause. It's just because they think.
The
Yeah.
number one and
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. But you have to, the reason for it has to be because you want to look after other people.
yes, of course, like it has to be like yeah, we'll talk about that as well, like purpose and stuff,
Yeah.
because for us probably that is our purpose, being in that role. So if you are being true to your purpose, you will be somewhat selfish just so you're able to do that thing.
Yeah.
So you're able to fulfill it by looking after yourself.
So looking inwards, I had to look inwards, and it was an obstacle because the self usually doesn't want to change, right? Like if you're comfortable where you are, you're comfortable with who you are, and like you said, right? Like you were miserable and you didn't want to be miserable anymore, right? You weren't happy with yourself. So the first step is to look inwards and accept who you are, right? Because if you're in denial, you'll never change. So once you look inwards, you accept who you are, and you don't like that person, you could change, right? So acceptance, and then you just decide like, okay, I don't like being fat. I don't like being miserable. I don't like being selfish. Like I don't like being a liar. I don't like being a cheater. Like all of these things, right? But you have to accept that you are that person first. And also, with my past, like, I've lied, I've cheated, I've had 3, 4, 5, 6 girlfriends at a time, and I don't want to be that person anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's rough because people don't forget who you were.
So what other obstacles have you faced on your journey?
Obviously, people, just like you said, people reminding you who you were, right? And one of my obstacles is like, so I had a girlfriend when I was at Milos Hotelweg, and I wasn't the best boyfriend to her, and I've tried to apologize like 2 times, just wanted to go and talk, and this person just doesn't want to have anything to do with me. So that's still something that I kind of hold, because it's like I was 16, 15. I was young and I was chasing girls, right? I was just trying to be Rico Suave, just going from girl to girl, and
I think as long as you have accepted that responsibility, and she doesn't need to, you don't need to hear the words from her.
Yeah, but it's just it was just wrong to lie to somebody who was that good to you. So it's like I've forgiven myself. Obviously, it's just something that I wish I did better, I guess. So that was an obstacle to kind of forgive myself and move on. Because if it's hard to forgive yourself if you haven't heard from somebody that they basically forgave you for being what's the word, is unfaithful the word? I felt like unfaithful is like when you're married, but
a cheater.
Yeah, for being a cheater. So
a dirty dog.
Yeah.
So I wrote some stuff down just like that, like my personal obstacles, like other people trying to pull you down. I've written it's like there's an expression like crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
Just pulling each other. You're trying to get out, but they're all just pulling each other down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't get why people are like that, but
because
instead of raising each other up,
Yeah.
we're just pulling each other down. We can't help to see.
It's
people.
misery likes company. Have you heard that expression? Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so they don't want you to break out.
What about yourself? Like self-talk? Have you pulled yourself down?
I used to. I used to really say things like you know you don't deserve better because you're you're a low life, right? Like you don't, right? And
Well,
you come from a family that isn't you know, like obviously we weren't from north, you know, like we weren't this
hmm.
affluent family. Like my dad was a hard worker, mine worker. Like this is all you're going to be, right? This is all you're going to be. You come from a broken home, you're probably gonna have a broken home. Like all of these things, it's just things that as a kid you just view the world and you're like, you know, like I don't come from a family like that, so I'm probably never gonna have that, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, there was a lot of that. But that just changed, man. Obviously, when I became a Christian, it's there's a good news, right? Like there's your life has a purpose. There you were born, you know, like somebody died for you. Like you were worth somebody dying for you, which is Christ, you know, who died for us. So there's a lot of that helped me. Like my faith has helped me so much. Just my one of the best things that has happened to me is getting to know Christ. But somewhere along the way, I also realized that there's not a lot of things that you could control. You cannot control your environment, you cannot control people around you. But one thing that you control is yourself, your actions, your thoughts. So at some point, you have to take control of those things in your life. Like
Yeah.
your mind doesn't control you, you control your mind. Um, but obviously with, you know, self-improvement, you kind of like start doing research, you Google things, you kind of watch YouTube videos, and then it just triggers a continuous effect.
Do you know what it was for me actually? It was politics. That was a big changing point for me. That started changing the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
It was about 2016 or 2015. You know when we had the referendum for Brexit. So Brexit is when the UK decided to leave the European Union.
Okay.
So there was going to be a vote for that. So everyone had the opportunity to vote to either to stay in the EU or to leave. And I, at that moment, decided that I needed to know, like, do I lie
Mm-hmm.
politically, right? What do I believe in? What am I gonna? So for the first time, I think everyone should do this. Actually, is look into the history of the big political parties. So in America, you've got the Republicans and the Democrats, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I did here. We have the Conservative Party and Labor Party. They're not the same as the Americans, but similar.
Mm.
Uh, and so I decided to look into the history of each party and try to understand where they're coming from, the way they lie, what they believe in. And it so I think everyone should try and understand what it means, because in this country especially, a lot of people will just vote the same way their parents did,
Yeah.
and they have no idea why. They don't know what they're voting for. They don't know what these what these
Yeah.
people actually stand for. But that when that happened, I started seeing more modern political stuff pop up on my YouTube page, and some people that popped up were like Jordan Peterson and people like him. And so I started watching him, and a lot of what he was saying made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't follow him so much these days, but back then, like the simple things, like where he
Mm.
tells you to clean your room,
Yeah.
take some just look after your space,
Yeah.
like take responsibility for
Yeah.
your life. And that really made me think about, like, yeah, he's right, I'm in charge of this. Why
Yeah.
am I just being idle in my
Yeah.
own life? So stuff like that made me want to
I,
take control.
I like I like Jordan Peterson. I don't always agree with his view on Christianity.
Mm.
That's the one thing I don't always agree with. But I like his guidelines. You know, it's not okay to be a man. It's necessary. Like he's
Yeah.
yeah he's So since we're on like topic of like influencers or people that influence you, have you? What do you think about Andrew Tate?
I think he's a I think he's one of the biggest memes ever created. Like, there's no way anyone believes anyone can be serious like that. Because look, little snippets of what he says, I think some of it, yeah, we can all agree with it. You know, like especially taking responsibility for your life.
Yeah,
But the misogynistic side of it, it's and the things he seems to have done.
yeah.
You know, it's a bit much.
This is the problem. The problem
Hmm.
is so many people are lost these days. So many young men are lost these days, and they're following him religiously because all of these young men want to have multiple wives. You know, they want to have all the girls, and the things that he's teaching, some of it is obviously work hard, you know, be disciplined
Hmm.
and all of these things. And my one main problem with this movement, with these men are who are trying to tell young boys and other men to be disciplined, and this is something I had to learn the hard way as well.
Oh, is it women?
It's women, right? And it's the one thing we can't really control ourselves. It's if a man cannot control his urges and be disciplined in that, all his other disciplines don't matter. It just doesn't matter. And that's the one problem that I have with these influencers. They're telling you to be disciplined. Go to the gym. You
Hmm.
know, you wake up early in the morning, go do jiu-jitsu, do kickboxing, do all of these things. But when it comes to women and they ask them, well, oh yeah, like I want to have 3 wives. I have 6 wives. That's something, that's an urge that I can control because we're men. No, it's wrong. And
Hmm.
I was a victim of that as well, right? I feel like most men, you want to have multiple partners. I don't know about you, but I think most men do. Just and you just see beautiful women and you just kind of want to be with them. Maybe you don't want to be with them
Hmm.
romantically, but like sexually, you're
Yeah.
attracted to them, right? So to sit here to tell young men to be disciplined, go to the gym, but you can't tell him to also be disciplined in their sexual urges. To me, that's hypocrisy.
I understand what you're saying, and I completely agree with. I think we shouldn't like I have this. It's not real. It's not based on anything. I don't think. But the fact that if you sleep with multiple partners, every time you do, you lose a bit of yourself. You know, your soul or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you do this, you end up being a shell for that for the woman you'd like to have as a wife.
Yeah.
At that point, you're just not worth it for her. Because if you want an amazing woman as a wife, which you should be saving yourself for her. Not that I'm not married yet,
Yeah.
and I'm not a Christian. Well, yeah, I'm not a Christian
Okay.
per se. I believe in God, but I'm not. I don't. So because I do believe that when it comes to self improvement, we need to have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's a main thing, and I think our initial purpose as men is to find a partner because that's biologically speaking, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to carry on our lineage, the human race, and whatnot. Everything we do is for that. Getting, like, if you think about it, getting a fancy car, a high paying job,
Yeah.
getting buff, going to the gym, it's all for women.
Yeah.
So, but what type of women do you want? Do you just want to sleep around? That I don't think that's a good idea because that's what these type of men are preaching.
Yeah.
They're telling men to go. But I think if you use your discipline for yourself to focus on
Mm.
yourself, the right woman you will find her.
Yeah.
But don't go wasting your soul and your life energy on on these women in the clubs or whatever, you know?
I agree. However, I don't know. Don't think I 100% agree with you saying
Yeah.
it's our life purpose. I think it has a lot to do.
Initially,
And yeah,
if you don't find a wife, then you don't have the rest of the purpose, do you? Raising your kids and seeing your grandchildren and all that good stuff.
yeah.
You need to find a good wife first.
I think honestly, getting married was one of the best things that happened to me, and I didn't realize that until like 3 years into our marriage. As a man, getting married to a good woman, okay? I'm not talking about bad relationships. I'm talking about like genuine good person. Getting married is probably one of the best thing that will happen to you as a man. Um, but I want to say this, coming back on the topic of these influencers telling young men to work hard just so they could have all the ladies. I can tell you this, and I could attest to this based off personal experiences. All of my teens into my early 20s, I was chasing women. Okay? I was chasing women. I That's all I was interested in. It was having girlfriends and women. And I'm happy that I realized before I turned 30 that, how will I put this? If you're a young adult, you're 17, 16, 18, 19, whatever, I want to say stop chasing women, because if you chase women in your teens and late 20s, when you're 30, you're still going to be chasing women. Just like Kelvin said earlier, like if you keep working, developing yourself, the right woman will come to you. You will find her, right? Because if you chase women and not work on yourself, not developing, not getting your education, when you're 30, 35, you have nothing to offer, you'll still be chasing women. However, if you develop yourself in your teens, you go to school, you get a degree, whatever, you work hard, you're 30, you have a house, women will notice, because women just want security, right? They just want somebody who's secure, that could protect them, help provide for them, or if she could provide for herself, somebody she could build something with, somebody who's capable of building something. So if you develop yourself in your teens, your early 20s, by the time you're ready to be in a committed relationship, women will come to you. You will find somebody because you'll have that security to offer. Whereas if you're just running around trying to sleep around, not working on anything, when you're 40, you're still going to be chasing women. So I wish I could go back and tell my younger self that.
Yeah, me too. Wasted time, it seems.
Yeah, it's definitely wasted time, 100%.
How would these young men go about finding their purpose?
That's a hard thing, right? Because I feel like as a man, when you grow up, like our emotions or our testosterone, like the what's it called, the chemicals, right, within our body, they get a little jumbled up, and it's hard. I think you should have something to do, whether it's playing a sport, right, whether it's doing martial arts. You have to have some sort of discipline, right? And if you're a young man, find something you're good at and then work hard at it. Because our purpose is basically to just provide and protect. If you have a little brother, you protect them. If you have a little sister, you protect them, right? Once you're older, your parents or you have grown old now, and you become the protector. You protect them, you help them. So it's along your journey, you're gonna find out what your purpose is, as long as you're continuously trying to improve. but you definitely have to find something you're passionate about, something that's worthwhile to do, and then just dedicate your time to it, work hard at it. And I'm not talking about meaningless things, right? I'm not talking about, I don't know, playing Fortnite 24/7, which you could maybe make a living out of it. I'm talking about things that are worthwhile, things that will help you in time of need when you're struggling. Find something you're good at and work hard at it, but it has to have meaning. It has to bring some type of value in the world. Yes, you could become a YouTuber. You can become a YouTuber if you're talking about meaningful things, but if you become a YouTuber who's talking about degenerate stuff, then like that you don't bring value to the world, right? Like, you always have to have a noble purpose. That's why, like when you think about these fairy tales where the princes were always like noble. I think about knights, right? Like they were noble. They had like a noble purpose, something that brings value to the world. Obviously, I cannot say here and tell you what you're supposed to do because that's your journey, right? Every single man will go on his own journey. And at some point, you will get lost. Just like I was lost, right? The thing is, though, you have to find your way back. And in order for you to do that, you have to make decisions. You have to choose, like, okay, I kind of lost my way, but I need to navigate back. So it's hard to say concretely, how one goes about finding his journey. But if you're looking inwards and you don't like the person you're seeing, or if you're looking in the mirror, you don't like the person you're seeing, that person can change.
I don't think being passionate about what you do is strictly necessary. Like, are you passionate about picking up packages? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think what you do has to serve your purpose, and I think what you're doing is serving your purpose, because by doing that job, you're being able to provide for your family, right?
Yeah, but I will say,
and that's, you don't need to be passionate about.
I will say this. I will say this. I kind of feel like the modern day Santa.
What do you mean?
So when I was working for UPS during Christmas time, dude, people, their faces, their smiles, like, because they were waiting on something and it arrived, and like I was delivering happiness, right?
Okay.
Once I pulled up to a woman's house and I delivered a wedding dress, and she was so excited she started dancing like around, and I started dancing too, because I was like so excited, because I brought her something she was waiting on, and she was just so nice and she was so happy because she thought it was gonna be late. Or like when I go to a pickup and it's a holiday and they weren't expecting me, but I show up anyways. Or sometimes a pickup gets canceled on accident, but I'll still show up, and it's something that they needed to get out, and they're like, oh, you still showed up. So it's a little bit selfish, if that makes sense, but I'm not saying it's serving my purpose, but I'm definitely doing something.
Since I've gotten into finances, I've watched a lot of finance related podcasts. One of them I watched is on Jewish people. It's living the Jewish, it's called Living L'Chaim, I think. So it's like about living, the right way. And one of the guests, the very first one I saw, was about a guy who was explaining why Jewish people tend to be rich. And because they live life a certain way, right? One of them is, you don't need to love your job, but you need to love what you're doing, because through them serving their fellow man is a way of worshiping the Lord.
Yeah.
So that's why they see it. So for them, making money isn't a dirty thing. So it's I like that, like the fact that like you're finding enjoyment from serving other people.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It is nice to hear. So I think if people can look at it that way, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't hate your job, because if you hate your job, then it might be time to move. But if it's just like, I kind of, I don't like working
Yeah.
or whatever, just find that bit of service that you can,
Yeah.
try and you're helping your fellow man.
Yeah.
You're doing something.
Yeah. The
So it's
problem the problem in this day and age is like people want to do the minimum and get big returns, right? Because
yeah.
that's the problem in this day and age. Everybody want to do as little as possible and then reap like huge rewards, which is, my job isn't easy. It's easy for me, right? Because like I said, I enjoy bringing happiness to people. But there are days, there are days, man, where you sometimes you'd show up and like people would just not be happy around you, and it's like I just don't understand. Like, this is what you're doing. Why are you complaining about it? You know, the one thing that baffles me is when somebody shows up at work and then they're complaining about how much work they have. It's like being hungry and then getting food and then complaining about how much food you get. In my head, because when you show up for work, you're there to work. Obviously, if it's unreasonable, then yeah, I get it, right? Because there are some cases, but if you signed up for something, man, you just gotta do it. And like you said, if you start hating your work, then you should just move on, go do something else, because you're making everybody else around you miserable, right? So
yeah. I mean, I think we all work with people like that.
Yeah.
These people that moan about anything and everything. Yeah, I try to. I'm not trying not to associate so much with those people because it brings you down.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get on with your jobs. And
yeah.
So I've written some stuff about how to figure out your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you've got what I believe is the overarching purpose of finding a partner. But after that, like the way to be able to do that, I've written is you need to do things to make that happen, right? You need to get out there. You need to be able to play the game. I think one of the most important things that people forget is you need to be able to talk to people, and people need to like having you around them, because we do live in a society, and if you're an asshole, people will not like being around you.
Yeah.
It'd be very difficult to find someone, and you need to bring something useful to society.
Yeah.
You need to be useful to other people. So I think if you do these things when you're young, you'll have a big lead in life that, like, you and I probably, because we weren't thinking about this stuff in our teens and our 20s, but if you do that stuff early on, you'll have a big step up against every other guy.
My dad would always tell me, when people see you coming, don't let them frown. Whenever you show up somewhere, people should be happy to see you. Don't ever be the person that when you're coming, they're like, oh, like this guy again. Right? In
never heard that one. Yeah.
In Saranantongo, he would say, no, smanom fugafi. No mex mafugafi. Right? Like, don't let people grow tired of you. And always when people see you coming, they should be happy to see you coming. I struggle a little bit with you saying, as men, our life purpose is to find a mate. Now, honestly, because I'm thinking about that, and I think that if you improve yourself, you won't even have to try. That's my understanding of it.
Because I believe that. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think you should do it just because you want a partner. You should do it because it's good for you, and then the result of that is you'll have your options, I guess, to explore. But what happens once you have that person then? Because if that was your main...
That's when your purpose grows, right? You want to be able to, let's say, give this woman the best life she can have. And you don't want... Because a lot of people in relationships, like a lot of relationships get stagnant. Because you get comfortable. The man stops trying, the woman stops trying. All that all the stuff you did beforehand, you stop doing because you think, oh, I already got her. You know,
Yeah.
why do I need to keep going to the gym? Why can't I just start eating
Yeah.
as much junk as I want?
Yeah.
You have to keep working.
Yeah.
But I also think that when you start having children, you start getting married, the focus shifts to that. You want to give your children the best life they can have, better than what you had. I'm not saying you should neglect them, like you just work hard all the time, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is you start doing things that work towards that. So you start working hard. You might get a better job. You might start studying because so that you can provide better for your family.
Yeah.
And then you start, let's say if you have neglected your health, like me, for example, you start thinking about, oh, maybe I want to be around to see my grandchildren.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to take care of myself so that I can see that, so I can be there for when they go to school and
Yeah.
have them at Christmas and stuff like that. So I think as you grow older and start going through these different stages in life, that your purpose will expand.
And you'll start realizing how much a lot of things don't matter. You realize that all of the things you've been chasing all of these years, they don't matter, and you don't need them. So like we said earlier,
expensive designer clothing,
yeah, it doesn't.
sneakers.
And it happens in America too. I thought it was in Suriname where people would just, ball and then have like a $20,000 car and then have like a $5,000 house. Like just to put it in perspective,
Yeah.
right? And you'll just start to realize that all of those things don't matter. That's just seeking validation, right? It's just, look at me, I'm so flashy, dude. So I went to this mall. So I live in Oakland County, which is probably one of the most expensive, affluent counties in America, I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on this. And I went to this mall, and it's like massive. One part of the mall, me and my wife joked, we called it like the ghetto side. And we went to the other side of the mall, and it was like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and like all of these name brands. And the stores was like, they were like empty. There were like 3 bags in there because you have to show up and then you have to like order it because they don't. And there was like security, and me and my wife, we just looked at each other and we're like, I don't see the appeal, right? Like I don't. Maybe if I was a millionaire, then it'll be like buying, I don't know, like a Nike shoe or whatever. So I feel like that's a world we don't understand, right? But that's if you have that type of money. If you don't have that type of money, you shouldn't try to be perceived as you have that type of money. Does that make sense?
I think the issue with these types of places and that type of stuff is, if you see someone with that type of that bag, the Gucci bag or the Louis Vuitton or whatever, most people that buy that type of stuff don't earn enough money to be able to afford it. They go into debt.
Yeah.
You see people driving BMWs, and people are in debt. Like I hear in America, you got 72-month car payments.
Yeah.
That's not a thing here. In this country, the maximum is 4 years.
Oh.
So you're paying what, $600-$700 a month for 5 years?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
So people are going into debt for just to look cool, just to show off to other people, and the other people don't care. Nobody cares about you, about what you're driving.
Yeah.
I mean, look, having said that, I wasted money on a nice car.
Yeah.
But it's a lesson I learned.
So the problem is we always want to come over a certain way, right? And like, look at me, like my life is so great. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it to go in debt just so that you could get a like on Facebook. How old are you now?
I'm 33 this month.
Okay.
Will be.
Oh, wow. I'm 34, but turning 35. And I think that at our age, it's still, I think we're in a good place, because there's people there that are 50 that are still trying to figure it out. Obviously, the younger you start, the better it is. Like, I wish I knew what I know now when I was like 18, 19. So I could just keep working on myself, developing, and then maybe by 40, I would have retired. right? Because when I turned 30, I had this plan to retire at 40. I wanted to do it in 10 years. Some days it looks like this plan is creeping away from me. But I'm keeping at it, right? So I think it's never too late, right? Like there are so many people that turn their life around 40, 50 year, right? When they were 40 or 50 years old. And so it's never too late. It's never too late to start improving. Just changing the way you live, changing your habits. There's this thing. So I'm doing a course right now for a certified nutrition coach, and this thing is called the TTM, Trans Theoretical Method, and it's you change your behavior and you stay consistent to it every single day until this behavior becomes part of your normal day. So every day you have to make a conscious decision. This is what I want to do, and this is who I want to be. And do it consistently every single day until it becomes a part of your day without thinking about it.
This is one of my methods for. One of the questions you ask is, how do we get better as being men?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I consciously choose every day is to try and do what is hard. So if you see an easy way out, go against it. Just do the hard thing. Even if it's a small thing. Like for me, for example, if my girlfriend wants a lift from work, like if I have to go pick her up, it's a 40-minute drive, 40 minutes back. But if it's like midnight, like I'm tired, I played football or whatever, I'll still go and do it because it's hard. And I know that doing the hard thing will make me better in the long run. Or playing football, like it's going to be, I think it's 4 weeks now in a row I've played football. Nice. And I'm playing twice this week.
Nice.
And I've written, doing the hard thing, this will make you grow stronger.
Yeah.
And for me, that's my, that's one of the ways I am trying to grow.
Yeah.
Doing the hard thing. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
Yeah. So what you're saying right now, so that's the TTM, and then you have this thing called stress adaptation syndrome, which your body reacts to stress that's placed upon it. It could be good or it could be bad, right? Because bad stress is obviously not good if it's maintained for a long period of time. But like when you work out, you're putting stress on the muscle, right? You're stressing the muscle, you're stretching it, you're contracting it, it breaks down, and then it grows stronger, right? So it could go both ways, right? But if you're you do what is hard, make sure you also have enough rest, right? Don't go 3, 4, 5 months just stressing the body. At some point your body will tell you like, okay, that's enough. I need a break, right? So you have to manage it. It's good that you're doing what is hard, but also make sure that, like, I get 8 hours. I try to get 8 hours every night. I try, right? Some people do well with 7 hours. Some people do well with 6 hours. Maybe when I have kids, that's not gonna be the case, right? But in the moment, while I have the time, I try to get 8 hours. It's not always, it doesn't always happen, but more often than not. So yeah, no, I agree. You should do what is hard, and you should embrace it. You should. Life is easy when you live it hard. When you're constantly testing yourself and putting yourself in difficult situations willingly, when difficult situations come, you'll be able to deal with it. But if all of your life you've gone cushioned, and then one day life smacks you in the face, you're gonna be lost. But you also have to be smart about it. Rest is very important. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you.
I just wanted to add one more thing to the finding your purpose thing. We talked about this like a month ago, but it never made it to the podcast. It was like sometimes people have what would be perceived as like a higher purpose, like they want to stop climate change or they want to change laws and that
Yeah.
type of stuff. And how the human race does things, like digging oil or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written down, if that is the case, like if you want to improve the world, you have to break it down. So I've written, what can you do to make your space better? How are you contributing to the issues we face? Like, start as small as you can. Like, is your life in order? Is your room clean?
Yeah.
Is your neighborhood clean?
Yeah.
Is your town, your city,
Yeah.
then your country? If you can focus on the little things, you can get better. The area that you affect will grow bigger. So so that you can focus on your purpose, which is changing bigger things.
Yeah.
Because if you don't focus on those little things and you throw some baked beans at a painting in a museum or lie in the middle of the road, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
nobody cares. You're a joke to everyone.
Yeah.
And you're getting in the way of normal people trying to get along with their life.
Yes.
So do it properly. Break it down.
I agree. Piggybacking off that, there was a time when I thought about, I'm just gonna work as hard as possible, save money, invest, and then retire at maybe 50 and then disappear to some island, right? And then just live life. Do what I desire, what is fun. But then I realized, like, going back from to Christianity, to like when God made Adam, he didn't just tell him, now go live your best life, right? He gave him he gave him tasks to do. He had to tend the garden, name the animals, do all of these things, right? So it doesn't matter what your purpose is. I don't think we were created to do nothing. So, and everybody has different talents. Everybody has different skill set. Everybody is interested in different things. So the thing is, most people just stay stagnant. Most people just they're like, most people are like a leaf in the wind. They just go wherever the wind takes them. They don't take control of their life, and they don't try to figure out what their purpose is.
I think that was me for the longest time.
Yeah.
Just letting life happen to me.
Yeah.
Not seizing control. Just going with the flow. It's not a good way to live.
No. And as a man, I believe that you have to be willing to die for what you believe in. You have to be willing to defend it, and you could still be nice when you're trying to prove a point. You don't have to be a jerk, but you have to be willing to defend your beliefs, and yeah, maybe be willing to die. Because, for example, for me, like, I'm the protector of my house, protect my wife, and I would die. Like, if somebody were to come into our house, and hopefully that something like that never happens, but I'm willing to be, for my family. And if you're a protector, you have to be willing. So it's rough, it's, what I was thinking about as well. I was thinking about, you were talking about your dad the last episode, how when he was at sea and it was rocky, if people were freaking out, and he was just like cool, calm, and collected. And he was a captain, right? Like, he's the captain of the boat, and the captain is like, you know what? We might not make it out of here, boys, but I got you. And I feel like every man, because if the captain is freaking out, the household will be freaking out, right? Like, there has to be that one person. That's why they say, like, the captain always goes down with the ship, because obviously, and it comes back to that, the alpha thing that I don't like. Like, you're the last person off. Like, you make sure everybody's safe and everybody, is taken care of, and then because when the time comes, if you're the alpha and you eat first, you're healthy. When the time comes, you're gonna have to show up. That's why you eat first. That's why you're strong. That's why you're healthy. Because when the time comes, and it's hard, right? Because most of the time, our role as men, it's not always summoned. It's not always asked for. But usually when it is, it's something very heavy. It's like for example, like the Titanic, right? Like when, I don't know if this is true or not, if it was just movie, but like when it was sinking, it was like women and children first. All the men were supposed to be stay behind.
No, it's that has a name actually. It was coined nearby here. It's the the Wirral something or the Birkenhead something, but it's very close to where I work. But it's true.
Yeah.
Women and children first, because men's lives don't matter. They
They
never
never
matter.
Mm.
Who gets sent to war and die? You know?
Okay, let's break this down. Do you not agree with that?
Yeah, but that's what we're here for, isn't it? To protect not just our well, yeah.
To say that it doesn't matter is like, I don't think that's it. I think it's part of our purpose. Part of our purpose is to be strong when others can't, right? Like kids can't be. Um, we have to protect them. A woman has to keep her innocence, right? Like like protect their innocence. They shouldn't have to go to war. They're delicate flowers. That's my personal belief. Like we have to protect them. Now, if she wants to volunteer and do her own thing, by all means, right? Like I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but I personally believe that their innocence has to be protected. We have to protect them, and we should, right? We should go to war. We should stay on the ship because we're men. That's what we're supposed to do, and not complain about it, right? Because like I said, our duty isn't always called upon, but usually when it's called upon, it's a heavy burden, very heavy burden, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and most men go to war because we have to protect our people from other men. Ukraine and Russia right now, right? Like all the women in Ukraine, they don't have to. I think. Don't quote me on this. I don't think they have to like sign up. Like they could seek asylum somewhere. They could flee. They could. But the man can't. The men can't leave, right? But it's your duty, I guess. It's your duty to protect your country from other men. It's just the way it is, right? So, and as a man, you have to accept that. You can't run from that. That's your duty. You protect your loved ones. You protect your country from other men who want to do their harm.
Like in countries like Israel, and I think formerly in England, and maybe even America, everyone used to have to join the army for a certain amount of service. I think it was 2 years or something. Do you think that should be brought back?
Like everyone, you mean like men and women, or just?
Yeah. Well, in Israel it's everyone, but I think here it was probably just the men.
I think every young boy needs to go through some training. Yeah, because discipline.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Would help them.
Discipline is something you don't just wake up with. It's over time. It gets built, and sometimes you just need to force that. So
I think I've read somewhere that in Israel that people that haven't been in the military find it very difficult to get jobs. They prefer the people that have served their time, the 2 years. Well, I don't know how long it is, but
right.
yeah, it's required there. Because yeah, they've developed some discipline. They know
Yeah.
what it's like to.
Yeah. I used to be against like people with college degrees and stuff like that, right? Like, why do they get first? Like, but then I started to realize that, and I heard this on a podcast too. Your education is proof that you've shown up somewhere consecutively and did it well, right? So don't even worry about the degree. Don't even worry about your test score. It's just a record saying, this person showed up and they did it well consecutively, right? And then everybody else competed against each other for grades and gets a higher grades and stuff like that. And then out of that pool, you could pick, see who did it best, who's going to be the best for your company. So I used to think it was unfair, but you're always in competition in this life. You're going to compete for the job. You're going to compete for the girl, right?
Yeah.
You're always in competition. So your duty is to put in your best, do the best you can.
But that's why those little things matter.
Yeah.
Doing what is hard, doing the little bits of discipline, working on yourself,
Yeah.
and being useful to society, because most people aren't.
No.
Most people aren't doing that. So you will stand out. You will do well in life.
Yeah.
Just by putting a little bit more effort than everyone else.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. Oh. It's actually it's simple.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's simple. It's very simple. Life is actually very simple, but it's not easy.
No, it does require that hard work that we were talking about at the beginning. Yeah.
I would say, like work hard, put in your best effort. Work on yourself. Improve yourself. Improve your environment, your room, your house, your neighborhood, just like Calvin said. And then you can expand. There's no clear way. There's not like a roadmap, but there are little things you could do. Look inwards if you don't like the person who you are. If you don't like how you look, if you don't like who you are, you could change that. You cannot control the people around you. You cannot control even your what's it called, like the climate. Like you can't control a lot of things, right? You can control your mind. You can control you. And I do want to say this. I was thinking about this as I was showering yesterday. Don't try to react, or don't react. Rather try to respond. And I'll break it down. A reaction is usually triggered. If you think about science, right? You put two chemicals together, it triggers a reaction. When somebody says something hurtful to you, somebody does something to you, when you react, you often have to go back and apologize to people around you. However, if somebody does something, somebody says something that hurts your feelings, take it in, break it down, try to understand why they did it, and then you respond. When you respond, you choose how you respond. You choose what you say. You choose what you do, rather than reacting, which is an immediate reaction because somebody said something and then you react. You react, you lash out, right? So, and that's one of the things when it comes to like self-control. When you control your emotions, you can control some of the outcome of things. You cannot control everything. We can control some outcomes, right? Maybe something that would break up in a fight, break out in an argument. You can control that outcome when you respond. You could think, you know what? I understand why you've done it. Maybe you're angry right now. We could talk about it later. Right? So I am trying now to respond to things rather than to react. It's one of the ways that I'm that's one of my goals right now in my self-improvement journey. Not to react, because reactions are triggered involuntarily. When you respond, you understand, you break it, and then you give a response, if that makes sense. And most people just react to the world.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. And that will make you, again, people will rather have somebody like that around in life than somebody that's just a bit chaotic and
yes,
a bit of a loose cannon.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a subscribe, give us a follow, press that notification button so you always stay up to date when we drop a new episode. I guess, Kelvin, we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcast right now, right?
Yeah, I think also on Amazon. I just wanted to add that if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, just email us. Give us an email. We'll put it in the description.
All right. Yeah, and stay tuned for our next episode.